Hello children, this is grade 10 biology and today's topic is reproduction. Reproduction is the biological process by which new offspring or individual organisms are produced from their parents. There are two types of reproduction, sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction involves a single parent, whereas sexual reproduction involves the fusion of two gametes. So, firstly, let us learn about the importance of DNA copying. Now, before a cell divides, DNA must make an exact copy of itself so that the new cells have the right amount of chromosomes, that is, diploid number of chromosomes. DNA contains information about the inheritance of features from parents to offspring. It makes proteins required by an individual. If DNA is not copied during reproduction, correct proteins will not be formed and the strength of the individual will be entirely different. Error in DNA copying leads to evolution. It makes organisms look similar to each other. Or we can also say they help in maintaining the body design that helps an organism to survive in the environment. So, DNA is transferred from parents to offspring that makes them similar in many ways. Also, to maintain the stability of population of a particular species. The next important topic is variation. So, what is variation? Variation is the difference between the cells, organisms or group of organisms belonging to a particular species, or it can also be defined as the differences among the individual of the same species. So, let us learn about the advantages of variation. It enables the new individuals to adapt to the environmental changes and thus helping the survival of that particular population. They make an organism to fit better to struggle for its existence. If variation, it creates new traits in a species that enable to survive in the changing environment. Now, let us learn the different, so here you can see one more picture of variation. Now, let us learn the different types of reproduction. Reproduction is of two types, sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction, as we have discussed earlier. Now, let us learn more about asexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, one individual produces genetically identical offspring. That means that only one parent is involved and the offsprings are the exact copies of the parent. There is no chance of variation or very less chances. So, in asexual reproduction, there is no formation of gametes and fertilization does not take place. Asexual reproduction in animals happens through binary fission, budding, fragmentation, regeneration. So, first let us learn about binary fission. In binary fission, this mostly occurs in unicellular organisms like bacteria, euglena, paramecium, etc. In this process, the cell divides into two equal sized daughter cells. Sometimes the parental cell also divides into many daughter cells and the process is known as multiple fission. Example, Plasmodium. Fission basically means splitting, or it's the splitting of the parental cell into two daughter cells. The next important asexual reproduction is budding. In budding, a small bud is observed on the parent body which develops due to repeated cell division at a particular place. This outgrowth or the bud further grows and develops. Once the organism is fully grown, it gets detached from the parental body and leads an independent life. Example, Hydra, yeast. These are certain examples of organisms undergoing budding. Multiple budding also can be seen in yeast cells. The next important asexual reproduction is fragmentation. Fragmentation is another type of asexual reproduction seen in Spirogyra, mostly in some multicellular organisms. In this process, the parental body breaks into many pieces and each piece grows into a new individual. This detachment of or breaking of the body parts happens when the organism is fully matured. Reproduction by this method is simple and convenient, and also exact copies of their parents are produced. Like in Spirogyra, they simply break into fragments upon maturation, which grows into an individual organism. The next important topic is regeneration. Regeneration is also a form of asexual reproduction where the organism is capable of regrowing its lost body parts. That is, if a part of the body of an organism gets detached, the detached part grows into a completely new individual. This can be seen in Planaria as shown in the picture and Hydra as well. When Planaria is cut into pieces, each piece regenerates into a complete organism. Cells at that cut site divide and differentiate into a new tissue that regenerates the missing parts. This is a natural process of replacing the damaged cells or entire body parts in plants and animals. Now let us discuss about vegetative propagation. This is a kind of asexual reproduction occurring in plants where a new plant grows from any vegetative part of the plant body, that is either from the leaves or the roots or the stem. Vegetative propagation is of two types, natural and artificial. Let us learn about natural vegetative propagation. In natural vegetative propagation, new plants are formed from roots, stem and leaves. From roots, if we see, like in plants like sweet potato, which actually stores the food, if left as it is in the soil, it produces new plants. A few more examples of these are carrot, dahlia, etc. Whereas by stem, new plants grow from underground stem like in tuber, rhizome and potato, and even in ginger, and in subaerial stems like in mint, strawberry, etc. So, in these few examples, here the new plants grow from the stem. Leaves also produce new plants like in bryophyllum. Here at each margin or notch of the leaf, it produces buds. These buds or the young plants, when they fall on a suitable substratum, that is onto a moist soil, it develops into a new plant. Coming to artificial vegetative propagation. This is a simple, fast and less expensive method. This takes place through stem cutting, layering, grafting and tissue culture. So, first let us learn about stem cutting. In this method, a healthy branch is cut from the parental plant and planted in the soil. Very soon, the cut stem develops roots and grows into a new plant. Some examples of plants where we use this technique are in rose, sugarcane, etc. Coming to layering. In this method, basically a young branch or stem is bent towards the ground until it comes in contact with the soil and is further covered with the moist soil. We can put some force on the branch to prevent it from going back to its original position. After some time, roots develop where the branch is touching the soil. The branch is then cut from the parental plant and is placed in another place to grow into a new plant. Plants where we follow layering are in jasmine, vines, etc. Coming to grafting. In this method, two plants are joined into one for a number of purposes, either to repair the tissues or to produce disease resistance varieties. In this, the upper part is called the scion and the lower part which is still fixed to the soil is called the stalk. After making a similar cut on both stalk and scion, they are firmly tied together. After some time, the tissues of the stalk and scion join together to form one plant, where the stalk sends the essential nutrients to the scion. Grafting is done to develop new varieties of guava, mango, rose, etc. Next topic is tissue culture, which is also called as micropropagation. In this, a small piece of leaf or stem or a tissue, which is called as the explant, is cut from a plant and allowed to grow in an artificially created nutrient medium. Cells divide rapidly and form a mass of cells called the callus. The formation of callus, this is after the formation of the callus, it is transferred in another medium containing plant hormones like the auxins and cytokinins, which helps in rapid cell division. Soon they develop root and shoot system and are called as plantlets. These plantlets are then transferred into the soil. By this technique, large number of plants can be grown in a short period. New plants grown are the exact copies of the parental plants. One more type of asexual reproduction is spore formation or sporulation. This is mostly seen in fungi and bacteria. In this, the plant bears number of spores in the sporangium. When the sporangium bursts, it releases the spores which are microscopic and gets scattered. When they fall onto a suitable substratum, like for example bread, it develops into a new plant as in Rhizopus. So, this is an example of spore formation in Rhizopus. Now, let us learn the significance of sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction brings new combination of characters in offsprings. New variations are observed in the offsprings which gives survival advantage to the new species in this changing environment. We have learnt earlier that DNA copying takes place during reproduction and the same amount of DNA is passed on to the offspring in case of asexual reproduction. But if it happens the same in case of sexual reproduction, then the amount of DNA would keep on doubling for each new generation. So, how is the amount of DNA maintained? Actually, this doubling is controlled as gametes are haploid, that is, they contain only half amount of DNA, or we can say that they have half the number of chromosomes. So, that means to say that this number of chromosomes is maintained due to the meiotic division, where the number of chromosomes are halved. So, during sexual reproduction, when a zygote is formed, it carries half the number of chromosomes from the male and half the number of chromosomes from the female, and so the zygote formed will have normal number of chromosomes, thereby maintaining the amount of DNA from the parent to the offspring. Now, let us learn how sexual reproduction takes place in flowering plants or in angiosperms. A flowering plant has the following parts: sepals, also called as calyx, petals, also called corolla, stamen, which are called as androecium, or carpel or pistil, which are also called as gynoecium. Sepals are the outermost green floral organs which protects the flower in the bud stage. Petals are the colored floral parts which actually helps to attract insects during pollination. Stamen. These are the male reproductive organs. They have a stalk called filament and an anther lobe on the tip. Anther produces pollen grains. that is the male gamete. Carpel, which is also called as pistil, contains stigma, style and ovary. This is the female reproductive organ which receives the pollen grains during pollination. So, what is pollination? Pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma, that is from the male gametes to the female gamete, so that it can fertilize the egg. This pollination takes place in two different ways, that is self-pollination and cross-pollination. In self-pollination, the pollen grains from the anther is transferred or deposited on the stigma of the same flower or another flower of the same plant, but may be of another branch. Whereas in cross pollination, the pollen grains gets transferred from the anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower on a different plant, but of the same species, that is from hibiscus flower to another hibiscus flower. Once pollination is done, that is the pollen grains get deposited on the stigma, the pollen grains germinate and give rise to a pollen tube. If you see the structure of a pollen grain, it contains two male nuclei and a tube nucleus. This tube nucleus helps in developing the pollen tube and travel throughout the length of the style to reach the ovule for fertilizing it. Now, let us study the structure of carpel, that is the female reproductive organ. As we know, ovary contains ovule which encloses the egg, two synergids, two polar nuclei right at the center and three antipodals at the tip. The pollen tube enters through a small opening called the micropyle. One of the male nuclei from the pollen tube fuses with the egg, and this is called fertilization. This results in the formation of zygote which is diploid, whereas the second male nuclei fuses with the second polar nuclei to form a triploid nucleus. This is called triple fusion and forms the endosperm, which later nourishes the developing embryo. As fusion happens twice, this is called as double fertilization. After fertilization, ovary turns into a fruit and the ovule develops into a seed. Once the seed falls on a suitable substratum, that is moist soil, it develops into new plants. This process is called as germination. During germination, the seed coat ruptures and the radicle and the plumule, that is the root system and the shoot system, develops. Now we are going to learn about reproduction in human beings. Let us learn the structure of male reproductive system. The male reproductive system consists of a pair of testes, penis, scrotum, epididymis, vas deferens, prostate glands and seminal vesicles. Testis leads to a tube-like structure called the vas deferens, which connects to the urethra. Urethra is the common opening for urine and semen. Testes are present outside the body in the scrotum, which is a sac-like structure. It protects the testis and maintains it in lower temperature when compared to the body temperature, because testis requires lower temperature for the production of sperms, that is about 2 to 3 degrees lesser than the body temperature. Testis is also responsible for the production of hormone called as testosterone, which is actually responsible for the secondary sexual characters in the males. So, what are the secondary sexual characters in a male? They are appearance of facial hair, low pitched voice, more muscular development, enlargement of larynx, that is Adam's apple, and a few more. Next structure is epididymis, which is a coiled tube which connects testis to the vas deferens. Seminal vesicles and prostate glands adds alkaline fluid to the sperms, and form semen, whereas the prostate gland provides nutrition to the sperms. Coming to the female reproductive system, which consists of a pair of ovaries, fallopian tube also called as oviduct, uterus, vagina and cervix. Fallopian tubes end in funnel shape. Every month one ova is released from either of the ovaries. Ovum is collected by the fallopian tubule or the oviduct. The process of fertilization takes place in the oviduct. That is, the male gamete fuses with the female gamete in the oviduct. This release of the ovum is called as ovulation. This ovulation happens every 28 to 30 days in women and it's called as the menstrual cycle. After fertilization, the zygote keeps dividing and moves towards the uterus, forming into an embryo. This embryo gets attached to the walls of the uterus and this is called as implantation. The walls of the uterus gets thickened with rich supplement of blood vessels to nourish the growing embryo. The embryo gets nutrition from the mother's blood with the help of a special tissue called as placenta, and the waste generated by the embryo is also removed through the placenta. The development of the embryo into a fetus till the birth of the child is called as gestation period, which is about 9 months approximately. Due to contractions in the uterus, the child is delivered. Now, let us see what happens when egg is not fertilized in the woman. As we have discussed, the walls of the uterus prepares itself by thickening its walls by rich supplement of blood vessels to receive the fertilized egg. So, when egg does not get fertilized, the walls of the uterus starts rupturing, releasing the waste blood and mucus from the body. This is called as menstruation. This takes place every month and lasts for 2 to 8 days. Now coming to reproductive health. Reproductive health is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being. So in reproductive health, first let us learn about the contraceptive methods. The different contraceptive methods are mechanical barrier method, chemical method, IUCDs and surgical methods. So first let us learn about the mechanical barrier method. In this method, a physical device such as condoms is used to prevent the entry of sperm during copulation. Next method is chemical method. In this method, tablets are used by the females to stop the ovulation. The next is IUCDs, that is use of intrauterine contraceptive device. In this, a device made of copper called as copper T is placed in the female uterus to prevent implantation. The last method is surgical method, where either the vas deferens in the males or the fallopian tube in the female is surgically removed or tied. It is called vasectomy in the males and tubectomy in females. If vasectomy is done, sperm transfer is prevented, and if tubectomy is done, the egg is prevented from reaching the uterus and thus fertilization does not take place. Now let us learn the reasons for adopting these contraceptive methods. Basically, these are being followed for preventing unwanted pregnancy, preventing STDs, that is sexually transmitted diseases like AIDS, syphilis, gonorrhea, etc. And it also helps in birth control. Another important aspect is sex determination and female feticide. These should be strictly prohibited and action should be taken against those practicing them to maintain the female and male sex ratio. So, by following the birth control methods suggested by our government, we can overcome the problem of overpopulation and provide good education and all the facilities if we have a small family. Thank you.